Hi, my name's Becca and I make art process videos while talking about things that I'm interested in. Today I'm going to talk about what it's like being in your 20s in 2023 and how I've coped with the difficulties that I've experienced as a young person. If you stick around till the end of the video, I'll be giving you some key takeaways that I've had and some advice on how to deal with this challenging time in your life. So first I'm going to talk a bit about my story. So I did a degree in Spanish and TESOL. The course was not quite what I expected, and I realised that going to university was maybe not the right thing for me to do, but at the time I thought it was what I should do. I always wanted to be a teacher from a young age, and that's what led me to eventually doing a degree in TESOL, because I wanted to teach English to speakers of other languages. I had a passion to teach English abroad, and in my third year of university I got the chance to go abroad to Menorca to be a teaching assistant in a school. Unfortunately, I realised that they don't speak Spanish in Menorca, so I wasn't able to communicate with the people that live there, which proved to be quite difficult as I felt very isolated and I didn't actually improve my Spanish, which was the whole point of the year abroad. For the year abroad, we had 3 choices of where we wanted to be put, and my first choice was Barcelona. My second choice was the Balearic Islands, which Menorca is one of them, but I wanted to be in Mallorca and I specified that. And then my third choice was, I think, somewhere in the north. I think it might have been Asturias. So I didn't end up getting any of my choices, so unfortunately that didn't end quite well for me. During the time I was abroad in Menorca, I taught students of different ages, and I had quite a bad experience with teaching over there. I was told to do things I wasn't supposed to do, and I ended up changing schools halfway through. So I changed from a primary, secondary, nursery school to an adult school. I enjoyed the adult school more, although it still was not in Spanish, obviously, and I struggled with understanding what they were saying a lot of the time, because in Menorca they speak a dialect of Catalan, and Catalan is very different from Spanish, and Menorcan is very different from Spanish. It's even more different than Catalan is. So as you can imagine, that wasn't quite what I expected it was going to be. So I ended up having to return early from my year abroad due to COVID, and the last year of my university course was completely online, which really made it a lot less engaging, and I found the quality of the course really went down. A lot of the students were really angry about this, and we tried to get some of our fees refunded to us, and in the end we only got a small refund, which really didn't compensate us for what we'd lost in that year. So after that I graduated in 2021, so a year after the pandemic started. The world was still recovering and the country was still in quite a difficult state. I found an apprenticeship in ESOL, which is teaching refugees and asylum seekers English. So I thought that would be better because I hadn't had a very good experience teaching abroad. So I thought, okay, I could teach English in the UK instead. However, because I didn't have much experience at this point, even though I had a degree, I had a separate qualification to teach English as a foreign language, which I'd done in my second year of university. I still ended up in a job where I was taken advantage of, and I realised that the reason that they hired apprentices was to use them basically for cheap labour. So I was given a class straight away within the second week of me being there, and I just remember I found the whole thing so overwhelming. To have so much responsibility when you've never had a job before is insane. And bearing in mind, these people didn't speak any English whatsoever. They couldn't even say what their name was and how old they were. and I had no support, no resources. I had to make it all myself. It was crazy. So as you can imagine, I became quite depressed, and after teaching, I found that the environment was just not for me, and I just didn't enjoy being in such a toxic environment. So because of that, I changed to a different campus to be a learning mentor. I thought that would be better because I would be working more one-to-one with students, and I wouldn't be responsible for student outcome so much. So I wouldn't have my own class. I didn't think I was going to be teaching. I thought I was just going to be working one-to-one with students and a bit of going into classes, but nothing major. However, as it turned out, I was again taken advantage of, and I did most of the work for the team that I was in. It was a very small team. A lot of them had been there for a long time, and you could tell that they were kind of burnt out and didn't really want to be there. And because I was quite young, and I think the management saw me as like someone easy to kind of take a lot from, so I ended up doing most of the work. Because I had teaching experience, they used me to create a lot of resources, and I ended up doing a lot of teaching, which I didn't think was going to happen. Originally, I got on with my manager. She was nice, she supported me, she understood my difficulties because I suffer a lot with mental health. She was quite understanding about that, and I think my mental health was generally exaggerated by that experience because the whole environment was very uncomfortable. People didn't really talk to each other. There was kind of cliques. There was a general kind of feeling of a lot of the support staff feeling unfulfilled and unappreciated, and you could generally just get a very bad vibe from the place, which kind of made my anxiety worse. So I really liked that this manager was supportive of that, and I think that's the only reason I was able to stay for so long. But sadly, she left eventually, and I then got a new manager. This manager was a program manager that had to then take over our department while they were finding a new manager. But it turned out that ended up being quite a long time. And within that time, she undermined everything I did. She patronized me. She was very manipulative, very controlling. And obviously that did not help my anxiety at all. I felt very unsupported, I felt very unfulfilled, and I was left feeling like, is this it? I've done a degree, I've done all this stuff, I've done the right thing, and I'm still in a horrible situation again. So I ended up leaving the job eventually, and that takes us to where I am today. I've been taking a break from work. I've been trying to look for more jobs, and it's a really hard job market, really competitive job market. You might get companies that don't even reply to you, don't even tell you that you weren't successful, or they don't give you any feedback because they have so many applicants. It's just really, really difficult to get a job, and that definitely takes its toll on how you feel. The constant rejection makes you feel worthless. So I'm going back to working in a more menial job so that I can just earn money and figure out what I want to do next. I've actually decided that I want to change my career. I want to change to a different industry that's less toxic. So that's basically what happened to me and what led me to where I am today. So what have I learned from all of this? I've learned that being a young person in 2023 is not easy. There's so much that you have to contend with. The cost of living crisis, an oversaturated job market, and we're just coming out of a global pandemic, which has really affected a lot of people. Getting a degree in a lot of cases doesn't automatically lead you to a job, and this was a hard fact that I had to learn along the way. Even if you do everything right, you do everything to the book, you still might not end up with a job, and that can feel really crap when you've spent your whole life working towards that goal. Unfortunately, a lot of jobs want experience, and if you don't have that, you might have to do jobs that are taking advantage of you just so they can get what they need out of you. So you might have to do jobs like that to get the experience you need. And lastly, you don't always know at such a young age what you really want to do, and therefore you may end up making decisions you will later regret, and that's just a fact of life. So as promised, here are my tips to cope with this time. Number 1, don't always listen to your parents or the people who are older than you. Life was very different when they were young, so what was right for them at that time might not be right for you now, because everything is very different. Give yourself time. Because you're forced to make so many decisions at such a young age, try to give yourself as much time as you can to make those decisions. Number 3, volunteering is a great way to get experience. If you do get a degree, try to get experience while you're studying. This was something I found out, was that I got my degree, but I didn't have the experience to go along with it. So I regretted not doing something alongside my degree that would give me that experience. Number 4, think about if a degree is actually the right thing for you to do. Obviously this depends on your industry, but it might not be the right path. It might be that something else would lead you to where you want to be quicker and would put you in a lot less debt. Maybe an apprenticeship would be an option that you could consider. Number 5, if you do a degree, make it something broad so that you can have lots of options when you graduate. If you do a very specific degree, this can limit you a lot, and I think I definitely felt that. Because I'd done Spanish and TESOL, even though it was a joint honours, there's still very specific things, and it led me to not having that many options. And lastly, be kind to yourself. This is a very hard time of your life, and although people say it's supposed to be the best time, if you're just starting out, it's very hard. You have to give yourself as much compassion as you can, because things will work out, but you might have to go through some crap along the way, and you might have to persevere through that. So I hope you took something away from this video and it can help you in your journey. And if it did help you in any way, please consider subscribing to my channel or leaving a like, as I will be sure to make more videos like this in the future. Thank you so much for watching the video, and please take care, and I wish you the best of luck in your future.